So I was standing inside a pharmacy in Italy feeling absolutely miserable. I had a horrible stomach ache, my head was pounding, and I was completely exhausted. And there I was trying to explain what medicine I needed, except there was one problem. I do not speak great Italian at all, and the pharmacist did not speak much English either. The only thing left was to try Spanish. So even though he still spoke Italian, we understood each other, not perfectly or fluently, but enough. Enough for him to understand my symptoms and for him to recommend medication and for me to walk out of the pharmacy feeling relieved instead of helpless. And honestly, that moment stayed with me because it reminded me of something important. Learning another language is not just about sounding impressive. It's about confidence, connection, problem solving, and independence. And sometimes it's about being sick in a foreign country and still being able to take care of yourself. That experience completely reinforced why I believe learning Spanish can transform the way people travel, even in places where Spanish is not the primary language. And if learning Spanish is something you've been thinking about for years, this might honestly be your sign to finally start, because you never know when learning even the basics is going to completely change an experience while traveling. I'm officially opening spots for Spanish coaching again. And if your goal is travel, conversation, confidence, or simply feeling more comfortable navigating the world, I would love to help. You can schedule a chat with me through the link in the description, and we can talk about lessons, your goals, and what kind of learning plan fits your lifestyle. And if you love conversations about meaningful travel and cultural connection, make sure you subscribe because we have a lot more coming. One of the biggest misconceptions people have about travel is that you need to be fluent in another language to benefit from learning it, and you absolutely do not. In fact, some of the most meaningful moments happen with very simple Spanish. Things like ¿Dónde está el baño? Or ¿Cómo se llama esto? ¿Qué recomienda usted? Mucho gusto. Those are tiny phrases, but they open surprisingly big doors because language is not just vocabulary, it's effort and respect and curiosity, and people feel that. I've seen it happen over and over again in Spain, Mexico, Costa Rica, Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic. The energy shifts when locals realize you're making an effort to meet them halfway. Suddenly, people become warmer and more open and conversational, and the trip becomes less transactional. You're not just ordering food anymore, you're asking about family recipes. And you're not just taking pictures, but you're also hearing stories. You're not just checking destinations off a list, you're actually experiencing them. And honestly, that's the difference between tourism and connection. Now let's talk about the things that stop most adults from learning Spanish. Fear is a big one. It's not lack of intelligence or ability, it's just fear. People are terrified of sounding awkward, and I understand that because I've watched adults freeze up the second they try speaking another language. But meanwhile, children are confident and they can say completely incorrect things with their whole chest and keep it moving. Adults want perfection before participation, but language learning does not work that way. You learn by using it badly first. That's literally part of the process. And honestly, travelers who try imperfect Spanish usually have better experiences than travelers who refuse to try at all. People remember effort. I once watched a traveler in Madrid spend 5 minutes trying to order coffee in broken Spanish, and the server helped him through every word. By the end of the interaction, they were laughing together, and that traveler walked away smiling because he realized something important. You do not have to sound native to connect with people. You just have to be willing to try. This actually reminds me of one of my favorite experiences from my years teaching Spanish. A colleague and I took a group of students to Madrid, and instead of just walking them around the city pointing out landmarks, we decided to try something different. We created a scavenger hunt through the streets of Madrid, and the only way the students could solve the clues was by speaking Spanish to locals. So let me be very clear, these students were not fluent, and they weren't even close. They knew basic conversational Spanish, how to ask questions, how to introduce themselves, and how to ask for directions, or how to clarify when they didn't understand something. That was it. But suddenly, all those classroom lessons became real. You could literally watch the switch flip in their brains, because now Spanish was no longer an assignment, it was a tool. They had to walk up to strangers in plazas and ask shop owners questions. They had to interact with people at cafes and figure things out in real time. And honestly, at first, they were terrified. You could see them hesitating before approaching people. But then something beautiful happened. The locals were patient and helpful and encouraging. And the students started realizing, I can actually do this. Not perfectly or flawlessly, but effectively. And by the end of the scavenger hunt, their confidence had completely changed. They were laughing and taking initiative. They were trying more Spanish and worrying less about mistakes. And that is such an important lesson for language learners. You do not need perfect Spanish for meaningful experiences. You just need enough courage to start the conversation. Spanish is such a powerful language to learn because it opens up so much of the world. You're talking about Spain, Mexico, Central America, South America, and large parts of the United States. And beyond geography, it gives you cultural access to food, music, history, humor, and conversation, and also human connection. You begin understanding a place instead of just seeing it. And if you're someone who loves meaningful travel experiences, that matters. Because one of the most beautiful parts of travel is realizing how much humanity we all share. Language helps unlock that. Quick pause here, because if this conversation is making you think, you know what, maybe I really should learn Spanish, this is your opportunity. I'm now offering Spanish coaching, again, through Nostalgic Travel, alongside my travel planning services. And what makes this different is that I teach Spanish through real-world use and cultural connection, not just memorizing random vocabulary lists that you're never going to use again. If your dream is to confidently order dinner in Spain, navigate a market in Mexico, or talk with locals in Costa Rica, or simply just stop feeling intimidated when you travel, schedule a chat with me through the link in the description. We'll talk about your goals, your comfort level, and create a plan that actually feels doable. And now back to the episode. Something people do not talk about enough is how emotional language learning can be, because it forces you to become comfortable being uncomfortable. You have to risk embarrassment, you have to slow down and listen differently. And honestly, that process changes you. I've seen students go from, I could never do this, to confidently navigating airports, restaurants, train stations, and conversations abroad. And the confidence spillover is real, because when you prove to yourself that you can learn a language as an adult, suddenly other things feel possible too. The confidence carries into travel, into career, relationships, and life. It becomes bigger than Spanish. My favorite travelers are not necessarily the ones who spend the most money. It's the people who stay curious. The travelers who ask questions, the travelers who wander into local bakeries, or who attempt the language even when they stumble through it. The ones that care more about connection than perfection. Those are the people who come home transformed. And if I'm being honest, those are the kinds of experiences I care most about creating. Whether through travel planning or through this podcast or now through Spanish coaching again. Because travel becomes infinitely richer when you can communicate beyond English, even just a little. Years later, I do not remember every monument I saw in Spain. I don't remember every hotel room or train ride, every itinerary detail. But I do remember conversations. I remember talking to a woman in Seville, or a waiter in Granada who taught me a local phrase, or the older gentleman in Madrid who insisted on helping me find my train platform. There was a lot of laughter and warmth, and the feeling of being welcomed into moments I would have completely missed if I had stayed silent. That's the real magic of language. It doesn't just help you travel better, it helps you experience people more deeply. And honestly, that might be one of the most valuable souvenirs you can bring home. If you're ready to finally start learning Spanish, whether for travel, confidence, cultural connection, or just because it's been on your heart for years, I would love to help you. You can schedule a chat with me through the link in the description to learn more about lessons and find the right fit for your goals. And if this episode connected with you, make sure you subscribe, leave a review, and share this with someone who has always dreamed of speaking Spanish someday, because it's never too late to start. And your future travel experiences might look completely different because of it.